I can't help thinking about serial killers and how they come to be. Like they're so far away from us, right? We're the flock, and they're like out here. How do they get out there? Are they born that way? Are they born bad? Are they made that way? And I remember being really entranced by Jeffrey Dahmer's father, Lionel, when I was watching an interview with him on Larry King Live on CNN a long time ago. Because I kept thinking, oh, there's got to be a flicker of a monster in those parents, right? But I didn't see it. I grabbed a soundbite of it because I wanted you to see it too, so that I want you to have the same experience I did watching that interview. Take a look at this.
Before 12, there really wasn't. I mean, if I had known about the roadkill, that would have been a red flag. I would have done something immediately, intervened. But before that, there wasn't really anything.
Call him a normal boy up to 12.
Yeah, except extremely shy. And one of the things I'd like to tell parents is don't disregard shyness. Things can be fomenting in that young mind. Dig. Just pull out everything that you possibly can. Don't stop. Yes, talk deeply and intensely. It'll come out, I think, eventually.
I just thought they were so normal and nice, and I thought they'd be boogeymen. So what is it? What makes those people that leave the flock and go so far? What happens? Lucky for me, I've got Dr. Katherine Ramsley. She's like one of the greatest on serial killers. So here's your bio, real quick, forensic psychologist. Your article recently, Serial Killers and Their Fathers, was published a few days ago on Psychology Today, so we had to ask you to join us today, Doctor. I keep thinking about bad parenting, and I think if bad parenting is the cause, or at least contributes to serial killers, there would be millions and millions of serial killers. So is it the parenting question? Is it just they're born bad? What do you see?
It's not just the parenting. There are multiple factors, but it's the perception of the child too. It's to some degree it's their disposition, so that's genetic, but it's how they perceive what's happening to them and how they react and the decisions they make as a result. So if you have parents who were fighting all the time, like the Dahmers were, that feels like an unsafe environment. And so Jeffrey would withdraw and find solace in these odd little perversities, like the roadkill and the kind of animal experiments he was doing. He also started drinking at a very young age. The parents didn't notice. They were neglectful. Both parents. Doesn't mean that they were bad parents. They were fighting a lot and not noticing the effect it was having on their son, but it did not have that same effect on their other son. So it really is a very individualized process in terms of how a child is taking it in, trying to deal with it, and finding ways to feel safe and feel more powerful.
I feel like it's some of these serial killers are born bad, but with good parents, they could have been assuaged and they could have been kept in the flock. But I'm super interested in Lionel Dahmer saying, don't ignore shyness. Oh, good grief, there are just so many shy kids. What are parents supposed to think or take from that about their, shy Johnny or shy Betty? What do you do with that?
I actually don't think that was a very good comment for him to make. It's not about shyness. With Jeff, he was withdrawn and he was drinking. That's what was going on, and Lionel didn't notice. He just thought he was off daydreaming somewhere. So it's really not about shyness, and I'm a little surprised he would say that. But nevertheless, when you look at some of the other serial killers and the influence of parents in their lives, we do have parents who are overbearing, were humiliating, were belittling, were aggressive, were abusive. And when we compare, for example, juvenile delinquents, when we compare those who later went on to kill, and no matter what form, whether it's just one murder or serial killing, we do see in their lives parents who are assertive, aggressive, and often belittling. And so they're trying, sometimes they get into a fantasy life where they're having rehearsal fantasies about payback and about how to re-empower themselves and how to assert themselves. So like I said, it's an individualized process, but we are finding with the studies that we've done with parents that it's there.
Dr. Katherine Ramsley, I love having you on. Will you come back again?
Sure.
This is definitely an interesting topic. Because even as a mental health counselor, it's hard to say. It's really hard to say if serial killers are born that way, they were made that way, or did something terrible happen in their life for them to become a serial killer or mass murderer. I personally believe that it has something to do with upbringing and it's an individual process, like Dr. Ramsey said. So it can have something to do with not only with the upbringing. You could be born with some cognitive issues, and that comes to the decision making. And there's different kind of mental illnesses, like antisocial personality disorder, and that has a lot to do with the person's personality, how they think, how they process their thoughts, the decision making they make. Some people with antisocial personality disorder symptoms, or most of them actually, have lack of emotion issues. You don't see them taking remorse, empathy, or accountability for hurting other people. So I believe sometimes it's a mental illness that you're born with that you can't control. But maybe with a good rehabilitation place, with good therapy, it may help to change a person's life. But the question is, how much would it change? Therapy is worth trying out for anyone who has mental health issues or who suffers just of simple things like, it's not simple at all, I apologize. Things like anxiety and depression. And mostly I've noticed that serial killers have antisocial personality disorder. But the question that I really would love to ask Dr. Ramsey is, do you think Bryan Christopher Kohberger did this horrific murders? I know she's just his previous professor, she wouldn't know much, but she must have observed, analyzed, paid attention to her students. I'm sure Bryan was trying to impress her all the time, but the question is, did Bryan Christopher Kohberger do it? And if he did it, did he join these classes in criminology and crime and justice so that he could try and plan a quadruple murder? I'm just saying, in case Bryan Christopher Kohberger did it, he would know how to deal with the crime scene. But I believe if Bryan did it, he would have definitely taken more caution of leaving behind something. Because imagine there was no trail of blood or anything, but there was a knife sheath with touch DNA. I hope we get to the bottom of this. I hope the truth comes out. For the sake of the four precious victims, may they rest in peace, condolence to the families, and for the sake of Bryan Christopher Kohberger, he deserves fair justice. Because if it wasn't him, then we have a problem. Because they're real killers roaming around. Please like, share, and subscribe. Have a lovely evening.